I was sitting in my apartment in Portland a year after I vanished from Seattle when the doorbell rang at 7 p.m. on a Saturday. Through the peephole, I saw the woman I used to love standing outside my door, Sierra, my ex-wife. For 3.5 years, I thought our marriage was solid. We had our routines, our inside jokes, our plans for the future. But there were signs I ignored. Small things that did not add up. Then, one Thursday afternoon, I found her second phone hidden in an old purse. The messages I read that day changed everything, and the decision I made afterwards brought me here to this moment with her standing on the other side of my door after 12 months of complete silence. Before we dive deeper into what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching this from. Drop a comment below and let me know your city or country. And if you are enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Trust me, what comes next about my disappearance and the shocking request she made when she found me will make you rethink everything about trust and forgiveness. Sierra and I met when we were both 29 years old at a tech networking event in Seattle. She worked as a marketing manager for a mid-sized software company. She had this magnetic presence, always the center of attention at parties, always knowing the right thing to say. I was a software engineer, quieter, more analytical. Opposites attract, they say. We got married after dating for a year and a half. The ceremony was small, just close friends and family at a venue overlooking Puget Sound. Our life together seemed picture-perfect from the outside. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in Belltown, one of those modern buildings with floor-to-ceiling windows and a rooftop deck. I worked remotely for a startup, which meant I was home most days. Sierra traveled for work, attending conferences and meeting clients. Maybe twice a month at first. We had our morning coffee ritual where we would sit on the balcony and talk about our plans for the day. Friday nights were movie nights. We would order Thai food and watch whatever new release caught our interest. On weekends, we would drive out to the mountains for hikes, exploring trails around Mount Rainier or the North Cascades. There were these little things she did that made me feel loved. She would leave sticky notes on the bathroom mirror with messages like, "Have an amazing day," or "Cannot wait to see you tonight." Every night before bed, she would text me, "I love you," even if we were in the same room. Looking back now, I wonder if those gestures were her way of compensating for the guilt she must have been feeling. About 6 months before everything fell apart, I started noticing changes. Subtle at first. Her work trips became more frequent, jumping from twice a month to 4 times a month. She said there was a big project, a potential client that could transform her career. I believed her. Why would I not? She was ambitious-driven. That was one of the things I loved about her. But other things changed too. She became protective of her phone in a way she never was before. She changed her passcode, something she had never done in 3 years of marriage. When her phone rang, she would take the call in the bathroom or step out onto the balcony, even in the rain. I heard her laughing, that specific laugh she used to reserve for me. When I asked who she was talking to, she would say it was a colleague, someone from the creative team. Nothing to worry about. Our physical intimacy decreased. We went from being close several times a week to barely touching. 3 weeks passed without any real connection between us. When I tried to initiate, she would say she was exhausted from traveling, that work was draining her. I told myself it was temporary. Relationships have phases. She was going through a stressful period. If I was patient and supportive, things would return to normal. Maybe she was even working toward a promotion. I convinced myself that was the explanation. Then came that Thursday in October. Sierra was in San Francisco for a 3-day conference. She had left Tuesday morning, and I was home alone working on a coding project. I decided to organize our closet, something I had been putting off for months. I was sorting through winter coats and old bags when I found a leather tote she used to carry 2 years ago, shoved in the back corner of the top shelf. Inside the bag was an iPhone, not her current phone, an older model. I recognized it as the one she used to have before upgrading last year. I was curious why she kept it. Maybe there were photos she wanted to save. I plugged it into a charger and waited for it to power on. There was no passcode. The screen lit up, and I saw the message app icon with a red notification badge showing over 200 unread messages. I opened it. The most recent conversation was with someone saved as Jay. I started scrolling. What I saw made my stomach drop. Messages going back 8 months. "I cannot stop thinking about you. Last night was incredible. When can we meet again?" And photos. Intimate photos. Photos of Sierra in hotel rooms I did not recognize. Photos of her with a man I had never seen before, his face partially visible in some shots. I kept reading even though every word felt like a knife. There were messages about their meetups coordinated around her work trips: San Francisco, Los Angeles, Portland, ironically. They talked about restaurants they wanted to try together, inside jokes, plans for future encounters. And then I found the message that broke something fundamental inside me. Sierra had written, "I wish I could leave him, but it is so complicated. He is a good person. I just do not feel the same anymore." His response: "Take your time. I am not going anywhere. We will figure it out." I sat on the floor of our closet for 3 hours, reading every single message. I learned that Jay was Jason, the creative director at her company. They had started their affair at an off-site team retreat in Vancouver. It began as flirting, then drinks after the conference sessions, then more. He was divorced, no kids, 10 years older than Sierra. From his messages, it was clear he saw this as a serious relationship, not just an affair. I did not cry. I did not throw anything. I just felt numb, cold, like someone had replaced my blood with ice water. I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to myself. Then I powered down the phone, put it back exactly where I found it, and closed the closet. That night, I lay in bed and made a decision. I was not going to confront Sierra. I was not going to give her the opportunity to cry, to apologize, to make promises she would not keep. I was not going to listen to her explanations about how it was a mistake, how Jason did not mean anything, how she still loved me. I was done. Instead, I was going to disappear, completely, without a trace, without giving her closure or a chance to manipulate the narrative. I wanted her to feel the same confusion and abandonment I was feeling. I wanted her to wonder what happened, to question everything, to face the consequences of her choices without the comfort of my forgiveness. The next 3 days, while Sierra was still in San Francisco, I executed my plan with the same methodical precision I used in my work. I was calm, focused. Every action was deliberate. First, I went to our bank. We had a joint checking account where we pooled money for rent and bills, and we each had our own savings accounts. I transferred my half of the joint account back to my personal account. I left enough to cover the next month of rent and utilities. I was not trying to screw her over financially. I just wanted what was mine. Second, I contacted a divorce attorney. I found one through an online search, someone with good reviews who specialized in uncontested divorces. I met with her Friday morning. I explained the situation, showed her the screenshots. She was sympathetic but professional. She said that in Washington state we could file for divorce based on irreconcilable differences. No need to prove fault or infidelity. It would take a few months to finalize, but the paperwork could be prepared quickly. I signed everything that day. Third, I started looking for a new job and a new place to live. I wanted to leave Seattle entirely. I applied to several companies in Portland, about a 3-hour drive south. Within 2 days, I had a phone interview with a gaming company. They liked my portfolio and offered me a position as a senior software engineer starting the following month. The pay was slightly better than what I was making, and it was fully remote, which gave me flexibility. I accepted immediately. Fourth, I found an apartment. I did virtual tours of several studios in Portland and settled on one in the Pearl District. It was smaller than what Sierra and I had, just a studio with a Murphy bed and a small kitchen, but it had large windows and was walking distance to coffee shops and parks. I signed the lease electronically and paid the first month rent and deposit. Fifth, I packed. I took only what I needed: clothes, my laptop, important documents like my birth certificate and passport, a few books, my hiking gear. I left everything else: the furniture we bought together, the wedding photos on the wall, the kitchen appliances we received as gifts. I did not want any of it. Those things belonged to a life that no longer existed. On Monday morning, I loaded my car. It was a gray sedan, nothing fancy. I fit everything into the trunk and back seat. I looked around the apartment one last time. The place where I thought I would build a future. The place where I was happy, or at least thought I was. I felt nothing. No sadness, no anger, just emptiness. I left 3 things on the dining table. First, the divorce papers already signed by me with a sticky note indicating where Sierra needed to sign. Second, the old iPhone with the messages pulled up to the conversation with Jason. I wanted her to know exactly what I found and how I found it. Third, a handwritten note on a plain piece of paper. I know everything. Do not contact me. My lawyer will reach out. I also left my keys to the apartment and the second car we shared, a older SUV that was technically in her name. Before I left, I went through my phone. I blocked her number. I blocked her on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I deactivated my own Facebook account entirely because I did not want her tracking me through mutual friends. I sent a brief message to 3 of our closest mutual friends. Sierra and I are getting divorced. I need space and time alone. Please respect that, and do not share my contact information with her. Then I got in my car and drove south. The drive to Portland took just under 3 hours. I listened to a podcast about Norse mythology, something completely unrelated to my life, something to keep my mind occupied. When I arrived at my new apartment, it was late afternoon. The place was empty, just white walls and hardwood floors. I unloaded my stuff, set up my laptop on the kitchen counter, and ordered a pizza. That night, alone in my new space, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Relief that I had escaped, sadness for what I lost or thought I lost, and underneath it all, a deep exhaustion. I slept for 12 hours straight. Sierra tried to contact me. Of course she did. She called repeatedly that Monday night when she arrived home and found everything. My phone never rang because I had already blocked her. She sent emails. I set up a filter so they went straight to a folder I never checked. She reached out to friends. They told her what I asked them to say: I needed space, do not contact me. She even tried calling my mother, but my mom and I had a complicated relationship, and we barely spoke, so that did not go anywhere. My attorney handled everything. Sierra eventually hired her own lawyer, and they communicated directly. The divorce process was surprisingly smooth. We had no kids, no shared property beyond what we could easily divide, no contested assets. She did not fight it. Maybe she knew she had no ground to stand on. Maybe Jason told her it was better to just let me go. 4 months after I left, the divorce was finalized. I received the final paperwork in the mail at my Portland address. I signed it, filed it away, and tried to move forward. The first 3 months in Portland were the hardest. I started my new job, and the work was engaging. The gaming company was developing an open-world adventure game, and I was responsible for optimizing the rendering engine. My colleagues were friendly. There was Marcus, another programmer who was into rock climbing, and Priya, a game designer who made incredible curry and brought leftovers to share. But outside of work, I was lonely. I would come home to my empty studio, cook a simple meal, and watch television until I was tired enough to sleep. I went for runs along the Willamette River. I tried to read, but I could not focus. My mind kept circling back to Sierra. Not because I missed her, but because I was trying to understand how I missed the signs. How did I not see it? Was I that oblivious, that trusting, that stupid? Some nights I could not sleep. I would lie in bed replaying memories, searching for clues. That time she came home from a trip smelling like cologne that was not mine. The weekend she said she had to work, but her office building was closed for renovations. The night she turned away from me in bed, and I thought she was just tired. All these little moments that I explained away because I trusted her, because I loved her. But I did not regret my decision to leave the way I did, not once. I could have confronted her, could have given her a chance to explain. But what would that have accomplished? She would have cried. She would have said Jason meant nothing. She would have promised to end it, to go to counseling, to do whatever it took to fix us. And maybe I would have believed her. Maybe I would have given her another chance. And then what I would spend the rest of our marriage wondering if she was really at work or with him, checking her phone, living in constant doubt. That was no way to live. By month 6, I started to feel better. I joined a climbing gym where Marcus trained, and I met other people. I became friendly with a guy named Kyle, a graphic designer who loved hiking as much as I did. We started going on weekend trips together, exploring the Columbia River Gorge, hiking to waterfalls, camping under the stars. These were simple pleasures, but they reminded me that life could still be good. I also focused on self-improvement. I took an online course on machine learning. I started cooking more adventurously, trying recipes from different cuisines. I read books on philosophy and psychology, trying to understand human behavior, trying to understand what happened to my marriage. I went to therapy for a few months. My therapist helped me process the betrayal without letting it define me. She told me that what Sierra did was about her, not about me, that her choices reflected her character, not my worth. By month 9, I got promoted at work. My boss appreciated the optimizations I made to the game engine, and I was given more responsibility managing a small team. The raise was nice, but more importantly, I felt valued. I felt like I was building something meaningful. Around that time, I moved out of the studio and into a one-bedroom apartment with a better view. It overlooked the Willamette River, and I could see the bridges lit up at night. I bought some furniture, actual pieces I chose myself, not hand-me-downs or things bought with someone else. A comfortable couch, a real bed frame, a desk for my home office. I hung art on the walls, prints of landscapes from my hikes. I made the space mine. 1 year after I left Seattle, I felt genuinely happy. Not the kind of happiness that comes from ignoring problems, but real contentment. I had good friends, I had a job I enjoyed, I had hobbies that fulfilled me. I was sleeping well. I was not thinking about Sierra anymore, or at least not often. When I did think about her, it was without anger or pain, just a distant sadness for something that could have been, but was not. Then, on a Saturday evening in October, exactly 12 months after I disappeared, my doorbell rang. I was making pasta, listening to jazz music, unwinding after a long week. I was not expecting anyone. I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. Sierra. She stood in the hallway, looking thinner than I remembered. Her hair was shorter, cut into a bob that stopped at her shoulders. She used to wear it long past her shoulder blades. She looked tired. There were dark circles under her eyes. She wore jeans and a plain sweater, no makeup. This was not the polished, confident Sierra I knew. This was someone who had been through something difficult. My first instinct was to not open the door, to pretend I was not home. But curiosity got the better of me. How did she find me? What did she want? I opened the door but did not invite her in. I stood in the doorway, blocking the entrance. "How did you find me?" I asked. My voice was calm, neutral. "It took me months," she said. Her voice cracked slightly. "I hired a private investigator." We stood there in silence for a moment. I could see she was trying not to cry. I felt a flicker of something. Not sympathy exactly, but something close to it. She looked broken. "We need to talk," she said. "Please." I considered it. Part of me wanted to slam the door in her face. But another part of me, the part that spent a year processing and healing, wanted closure. Not for her sake, but for mine. I wanted to hear what she had to say, and then I wanted to make it clear that chapter was over. "You have 10 minutes, I said. "We will talk outside, not here." We took the elevator down to the lobby. There was a seating area with a long couch and some chairs. It was empty at this hour. We sat down, keeping a few feet of distance between us. Sierra started talking immediately, like she had rehearsed this. "I know you hate me," she said, "and you have every right to. What I did was unforgivable. I have spent the last year trying to understand why I did it, and I still do not have a good answer." I said nothing. I just listened. "Jason and I," she continued, "it ended 2 months after you left. He turned out to be a liar. He told me he was divorced, but he was not. He had a wife. She found out about us and everything fell apart. She confronted me at work. It became this huge scandal. I lost my job. Everyone knew. I lost all my friends. No one wanted to be associated with me after that." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I fell into a really dark place. I started seeing a therapist. I was diagnosed with depression. I had to move back in with my mom in Spokane because I could not afford rent on my own. I have been there for the last 3 months trying to figure out my life." I still did not say anything. I wanted to hear all of it before I responded. "I miss you," she said, her voice breaking. "Every single day. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I threw away the best thing I ever had. I was selfish and stupid, and I hurt you in the worst way possible. But I have changed. I have been working on myself. I have been in therapy. I understand now what I did and why it was so wrong." She looked at me with pleading eyes. "Can we try again? Please, I will do anything. I will move here. I will go to counseling. I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Just give me one chance to prove I have changed." I let her words hang in the air for a moment. Then I spoke, my voice calm and measured. "You thought I would never find out. You were careful, or so you thought. But you kept that phone. Why? As a backup plan, as a souvenir of your double life." She opened her mouth to respond, but I kept going. "You did not just cheat. You planned a future without me while sleeping next to me every night. You told Jason you wished you could leave me. You talked about me like I was an obstacle, not a person you vowed to love." Her face crumpled. "I know. I am so sorry." "You do not miss me," I said. "You miss the stability. You miss having someone who loved you unconditionally. Jason showed you who you really are and you did not like it. So now you are here, hoping I will take you back and fix everything for you." "That is not true," she protested. "I really do miss you. I miss us." I shook my head. "I will not try again. I will not forgive you. Not because I am cruel, but because I respect myself. I disappeared because I did not want to give you the chance to manipulate me with tears and promises. I knew that if I stayed, if I confronted you, you would find a way to make me doubt myself, to make me think I was overreacting. So I left, and it was the best decision I ever made." "You are so cold," she said, her sadness turning to frustration. "How can you just throw away 3.5 years like they meant nothing?" "I did not throw it away," I said firmly. "You did. The moment you texted another man saying you wished you could leave me. The moment you chose to betray the person who trusted you most. You made that choice, over and over again. For 8 months." She went silent. Tears streamed down her face. "For 1 year," I continued, "I rebuilt myself. I found peace. I found people who value honesty and loyalty. I have a life here that I am proud of. You showing up does not change anything. It just confirms I made the right choice." Sierra sat there for a moment, crying quietly. Then she said something that shocked me. "Can you at least help me? Financially, I am struggling. I cannot find work because of what happened. I am living with my mom, and I have no money. I thought since we were married, since you cared about me once, maybe you could help." I stared at her in disbelief. This was why she came. Not to apologize, not to seek forgiveness, but to ask for money. The audacity of it was almost impressive. I laughed, a short, bitter sound. "You tracked me down, spent money on a private investigator just to ask for money." "I am desperate," she said. "I do not know what else to do." "No," I said simply. "You need to figure out your own life just like I did. I am not your safety net. I am not your backup plan. You made choices, and those choices have consequences. You are an adult. Handle them." I stood up. "Do not contact me again. Do not come here again. Move on, Sierra. I already have." She called after me as I walked toward the elevator. "Dante, please. I need help." I did not turn around. I pressed the button, waited for the elevator, and stepped inside. As the doors closed, I saw her sitting on that couch alone and crying. In the elevator, I felt a strange sense of peace. I was proud of myself. Proud that I did not give in. Proud that I held my ground. Proud that I valued myself enough to walk away again. That night, I sat by the window in my apartment, looking out at the city lights reflected on the river. I did not feel angry. I did not feel sad. I just felt complete. Seeing Sierra again, hearing her out, and standing firm in my decision gave me the closure I did not know I needed. I called Kyle and told him what happened. "Proud of you, man," he said. "That took real strength. A lot of people would have caved." "I almost did," I admitted. "For a second, when I saw how broken she looked, I almost felt bad. But then I remembered why I left." "Good," Kyle said. "You deserve better than someone who treats you like a backup plan." That night, I slept better than I had in months. I did not dream about Sierra. I did not wake up in the middle of the night replaying the conversation. I just slept deeply and peacefully. 2 months later, I met someone new. Her name was Elena. We met at the climbing gym through Kyle. She was a teacher at an elementary school, kind and patient and genuine. We started talking after a climbing session, and she mentioned she loved hiking. I invited her to join Kyle and me on a weekend trip to Silver Falls, and she said yes. Elena was different from Sierra in every way. She was open and honest. She did not play games. When she said something, she meant it. We took things slowly. I told her about my divorce early on, not in great detail, just that my ex-wife had cheated, and I left. Elena appreciated my honesty. She told me about her own past, a relationship that ended badly because her ex was emotionally unavailable. We went on dates, coffee shops in the morning, dinners at small restaurants, hikes on weekends. We talked for hours about everything and nothing. I felt myself opening up again, learning to trust again. But I was smarter this time. I paid attention. I looked for red flags. I did not ignore my instincts. Work continued to go well. My team launched the game we had been developing, and it was a success. We got positive reviews, strong sales, and my boss hinted at another promotion. I felt proud of what I contributed. I had rebuilt not just my personal life, but my professional life too. I thought a lot about what happened over the past year and a half. The decision to leave the way I did without confrontation, without drama, was unconventional. Most people would say I should have talked to Sierra, given her a chance to explain. But I knew myself. I knew that if I stayed, if I listened to her apologies and promises, I might have given her another chance. And that would have been a mistake. Some betrayals are too deep to come back from. Leaving without a word was not about being cruel. It was about self-preservation. It was about protecting myself from manipulation and false hope. It was about taking control of my own narrative instead of letting her control it. And in the end, it worked. I healed. I moved on. I became a better, stronger version of myself. I learned that forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. I do not hate Sierra. I do not wish bad things for her. But I also do not care what happens to her anymore. And that indifference, that lack of emotional investment, is the purest form of freedom. She no longer has power over me. She is just a person. I used to know someone from a chapter of my life that is closed. I also learned the value of silence. In our culture, we are taught to communicate, to talk things out, to give people chances. But sometimes silence is more powerful. Sometimes walking away without explanation is the strongest statement you can make. My absence said more than any argument could have. It said, I value myself too much to beg for your loyalty. I respect myself too much to fight for someone who does not want to stay. Rebuilding yourself after betrayal is not easy. There were nights I cried, mornings I woke up feeling hollow, days when I questioned every decision I made. But I kept going. I focused on the things I could control, my work, my health, my friendships. And slowly, piece by piece, I built a life I was proud of. A life that was mine, not ours. I learned that I deserve someone who chooses me every single day, not someone who keeps me around while exploring other options, not someone who says they love me but acts otherwise. I deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect, and I will never settle for less again. A year and a half after I disappeared from Seattle, I stood on the summit of Mount Hood with Elena. It was a clear day, and we could see for miles. The snow-capped peaks, the forests below, the rivers cutting through the valleys. It was beautiful. Elena looked at me and asked, "Do you ever regret how it ended with your ex?" I thought about it for a moment. "Not for a second," I said. "Because it led me here, to this moment, to this life, to you." She smiled and squeezed my hand. As we started our descent, I thought about one final thing. Sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away silently and let your absence speak louder than any words ever could. Sierra wanted an explanation, a fight, a chance to defend herself. By denying her that, I took away her power. I made the choice for both of us, and that choice saved me. If you have made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between giving someone another chance or walking away for good? What did you choose? And do you think you made the right decision? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear your perspective. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for being here, and I hope you find the strength to choose yourself when you need to most. Take care of yourselves out there.